It was supposed to be a vacation, a break from ordinary life, a chance to swim in warm water, feel the sun, see something wild and beautiful before heading home. But the world's most stunning destinations don't come with guarantees. The same reefs that draw snorkelers from across the globe shelter animals that have been hunting in those waters for millions of years. The waterfalls that look like postcards are surrounded by creatures that don't distinguish between prey and tourist. The ocean doesn't care about itineraries. Every year, people travel to places they've only ever seen in movies or magazines, and some of them don't come back. Not because they were reckless, not because they ignored every warning, but because nature is indifferent. The line between a perfect vacation memory and a catastrophe can disappear in seconds. These aren't urban legends. They're documented cases, real people, real places, real moments where everything went wrong in the most final way possible. Here are 5 of the most disturbing times tourists were eaten alive on vacation. June 8, 2023. The Red Sea coast of Hurghada, Egypt. A warm morning near the Elise's Dream Beach Hotel, where the water was calm and blue, and full of people moving in and out of the shallows the way they do at any resort beach on any ordinary day. Vladimir Popov was 23 years old, Russian, and he'd been living in Hurghada for several months with his father, Yuri. It wasn't a rushed tourist trip with a ticking itinerary. They had settled into the rhythm of the place, the beach, the heat, the water. The kind of slow stay that makes people feel like they actually know a destination, like they've earned some familiarity with it. That morning, Vladimir went into the sea. His father was on the beach. His girlfriend was nearby in the water. What happened next was captured on video by witnesses on shore, and the footage would circulate widely in the days that followed. It shows a man in the water, struggling, then a shape beneath the surface, then chaos on the beach as people realized what they were watching. A tiger shark had found him. Tiger sharks rank alongside great whites and bull sharks as the species most frequently responsible for fatal attacks on humans. They grow up to 18 feet long and are not animals that typically take a single exploratory bite and retreat. Most unprovoked shark encounters work that way. A single contact, often a case of mistaken identity, the animal pulling back once it realizes what it's bitten. Tiger sharks don't follow that pattern. They press the attack. That's what this one did. Witnesses on the beach watched it circle and return, again and again. The video captured Vladimir calling out. His father heard it from the shore. "We went to the beach to relax," Yuri Popov told Russian media afterward. "My son was attacked by a shark. It all happened in seconds." He described it as a meat grinder. 20 seconds, he said. Then his son was gone beneath the surface. Vladimir's girlfriend got out of the water. She was unharmed. When Egyptian authorities recovered the shark, they found Vladimir's head, arms, and torso inside its stomach. Other remains were pulled from the sea by local fishermen. The Egyptian Ministry of the Environment released a statement confirming that a specialized team had controlled and captured the animal responsible. Authorities closed 74 kilometers of Red Sea coastline immediately, banning all water activity in the area while they investigated what had caused the attack. What followed was unusual even by the grim standards of these cases. The shark's carcass was handed to researchers at the Institute of Marine Sciences and the Red Sea Reserves, who began the process of embalming it. Their plan was to mummify the animal and place it on display at the Institute's museum. The shark that had killed Vladimir Popov would become an exhibit. Records kept by the Florida Museum's International Shark Attack File show that only 24 unprovoked shark attacks had been recorded in Egypt since 1828. Nearly 2 centuries, 24 attacks. That rarity made the event all the more jarring for a resort town built entirely on the promise of warm, safe, beautiful water. Hurghada draws tourists specifically for the sea. The sea is the product. And on the morning of June 8, 2023, the sea had taken a 23-year-old man apart in front of his father and a beach full of strangers. Earlier reports in the hours after the attack suggested the animal might have been a mako, or an oceanic whitetip. Egyptian authorities later confirmed it was a tiger shark. The shark was initially captured and dragged from the water by boat before being killed on shore. Vladimir Popov's ashes were returned to Russia. His father had been standing on the beach when it happened. He had seen the whole thing from the sand, close enough to hear his son calling out, too far away to do anything at all. That detail is the one that doesn't leave, not the footage, not the recovered remains, not the mummified shark that would eventually go on display behind glass. It's the image of a man on the beach, watching, 20 seconds, and then nothing left to watch. Wednesday morning, December 2023, Quieta Beach in Ixtapa, Guerrero, on Mexico's Pacific coast. The sun was already climbing by the time the first guests made their way down from the resort. The water looked the way it always does at a place like that, flat and warm and inviting, the kind of blue that makes people want to walk straight in without thinking twice. Joseph Binans was 76 years old, a Belgian tourist staying at the Club Med Ixtapa Pacific Resort. Quieta Beach was the designated swimming area for the resort's guests, a public beach that had been used this way for years. Families knew it. Repeat visitors knew it. It was a place that felt predictable in the best sense, well-used, well-traveled, the kind of beach where nothing unusual was supposed to happen. At approximately 9:15 in the morning, Binans entered the water. Just minutes before he did, a 52-year-old woman named Valerie Horowitz, visiting from Los Angeles, had been swimming in that same stretch of water. Something found her first. She was bitten in the leg, pulled from the water, and taken to hospital in stable condition. She survived. Then Binans was attacked. One of his legs was bitten off. The Mexican Red Cross arrived and provided on-site medical aid, but the blood loss was unsurvivable. Binans died at the scene. Whatever had been in the water that morning had moved through the same area twice, minutes apart, and the second encounter was fatal. What unsettled people most wasn't just the violence, it was the uncertainty that followed. Mexican civil defense authorities couldn't immediately confirm what kind of animal had attacked him. The wounds were analyzed to determine whether they came from a shark or a crocodile, because both are known to inhabit the waters along that stretch of coastline. That uncertainty wasn't a minor detail. Quieta Beach sits near a crocodile farm. In the days before the attack, visitors to Palmar Beach in central Ixtapa and to Zihuatanejo Bay nearby had already reported crocodile sightings. Shark attacks along the Costa Grande region of Guerrero's Pacific coast had been documented for years, including a fatal attack on an American tourist at Troncones in 2019, and a series of attacks in 2008 that had claimed lives. Either animal was a genuine possibility. Both had been close to that beach before. Marine biologists, consulted by local authorities, said they considered it highly probable that a crocodile had been responsible. The mayor of Zihuatanejo confirmed a bacteriological analysis of the bite wounds was underway. Drones and Navy personnel moved through the area searching for the animal. The beach was closed immediately. Purple flags went up along the waterline, the standard signal for dangerous marine fauna in Mexican coastal areas. Tourism Minister Miguel Torruco Marquez confirmed Binan's Belgian nationality and told reporters the beach would stay closed until a proper assessment had been completed. The safety of beachgoers is our utmost priority, he said. For the people who'd been at Quieta Beach that morning, the timing was what lingered. Valerie Horowitz had been swimming in the exact same water, in the same spot, just minutes before Binans walked in. She came out hurt but alive. He didn't come out at all. The animal, whatever it was, had been there the whole time, moving beneath the surface while resort guests swam above it, while children played in the shallows, while the beach carried on the way it always had. Nobody on that beach had any reason to believe the water was anything other than what it looked like. It wasn't. March the 29th, 1987. King's Cascade, a remote waterfall deep in the Kimberly region of Western Australia. The water drops in wide curtains over ancient dark rock, and the pools at the base are clear and cold and look, from a distance, like somewhere you'd want to lower yourself in and stay a while. Ginger Meadows was 24 years old, a model from Snowmass Village, Colorado. She'd come to Australia because of a movie. Crocodile Dundee had made the Australian wilderness look like a place of rugged, sun-drenched adventure, the kind of wild that felt accessible, romantic even, something worth chasing. Ginger wanted to see it for herself. She traveled with her friend Jane Burchett aboard a luxury vessel called Lady G, operated by skipper Bruce Fitzpatrick and a small crew. The plan after Australia was to continue on to Papua New Guinea. King's Cascade was one stop along the way, a scenic detour, the kind of place you'd tell people about when you got home. She never got home. Before they reached the waterfall, Ginger had been told not to enter the water. Fitzpatrick was clear about it when he spoke to journalists in the years that followed. "We were aware there were crocodiles in the area," he said, "and before we went, Ginger was told to not so much as dangle a foot in the water. She and Jane went in anyway." Fitzpatrick spotted the crocodile first, a saltwater crocodile, roughly 4 meters long, cutting through the water toward the two women. By the time they registered what was happening, they had their backs against the rock wall at the base of the waterfall, waist deep, with open water between them and the bank. Jane pulled off her shoe and threw it at the animal. It struck the crocodile on top of its head. The mouth closed. For a moment, the animal held still, and that stillness must have felt like a reprieve. Then, Ginger let go of Jane's arm and pushed off the ledge toward the shoreline. Saltwater crocodiles move in water with a speed that most people who've never seen it simply don't believe. She took 2 strokes. That was all she had time for. Jane described what happened next in the aftermath of the attack. "She let go of my arm, jumped off the ledge, took 2 strokes, and it grabbed her around the waist and pulled her right under the water," she said. "Then he pulled her up out of the water right in front of me. I looked her right in the face. She had her arms in the air and she was looking right at me. Then it pulled her back under the water." Ginger Meadows was gone. Her body was recovered the next day. It would have been her 25th birthday. Her estranged husband flew to Australia to identify her remains. The recovery itself was grim. A 23-foot rescue boat carrying her body back up the river traveled roughly 15 kilometers before a large crocodile launched out of the water and snapped at the body bag secured at the bow. The crew braced for a second strike. The animal sank back beneath the surface and didn't return. Saltwater crocodiles are the largest crocodilian species on Earth, sometimes growing beyond 20 feet and exceeding a ton in weight. They are ambush predators built over millions of years to take prey at the water's edge and hold it under. They don't warn you. They don't hesitate. Ginger Meadows had been warned. She'd gone into the water anyway, drawn there by the version of the wild that movies sell. The version that leaves out what the wilderness actually is. April 28, 2010. Havelock Island, part of the Andaman Archipelago in the Bay of Bengal, roughly Sao Paulo's 100 kilometers from the Indian mainland. The island pulls in travelers with white sand beaches, dense jungle pressing down to the waterline, and water so clear and warm that snorkeling there feels less like an activity and more like floating inside an aquarium. Lauren Fela was 25 years old, from Morristown, New Jersey. People who knew her described the same quality, the way she filled a room before she'd said a word. She was one of those people you pay attention to when she walks in a room, said a former choir director who'd known her since she was 4 years old. Lauren volunteered with her church's youth ministry, sang in the choir, made friends feel like the world was wider than they'd realized. She had gone to India for what one friend called one last adventure before settling into a career. The kind of trip young people take when they know ordinary life is waiting and they're not quite ready to let the extraordinary go. At 3:30 in the afternoon, she was snorkeling in Neil Cove at the Barefoot Resort on Havelock Island, moving through shallow, warm water with a male companion. Nothing about that stretch of coastline had previously suggested danger. Crocodiles had not been reported around Havelock Island before. There were no warning signs at Neil Cove, no alerts posted at the resort. Nothing to tell Lauren that the water she was drifting through was anything other than what it appeared to be. A saltwater crocodile was already in that water. The attack was captured on an underwater video camera belonging to her companion. The footage confirmed what had happened. Lauren was seized and pulled under. Her companion survived. Recovering her body took more than 2 days. Authorities had to physically fight the crocodile off to retrieve her remains. During the search, officials counted 4 crocodiles moving through the waters around Havelock Island. They had ventured there from sanctuaries scattered across the island chain, ranging far beyond the boundaries anyone had assumed they kept. According to figures cited by the State Department from Indian government records, roughly 24 people had been attacked by crocodiles in the Andaman Islands over the previous 25 years, with 4 of those attacks fatal. But none of those attacks had happened at Havelock. There had been no pattern here to warn against. Lauren's parents, Frank and Kay Faila, had already buried one daughter. Their older child, Emily, had died in a rock climbing accident in Washington state in 2006. Now they had lost Lauren too 4 years later, on the other side of the world, in water that was supposed to be safe. Her cousin wrote to the local paper in the days after the attack, "I am sure that my beloved cousin, Lauren Faya, would not have taken such a risk had she been properly warned that crocodiles were living right there where she was snorkeling." Her aunt asked the question that nobody could answer cleanly. Where are the signs alerting people to the potential dangers? The Andaman Shika, a local newspaper, put the tension plainly. A crocodile sanctuary and a tourist destination, it wrote, cannot coexist. Lauren Faya had come to India for one last adventure. She was 25 years old. She had no way of knowing what was below her in that water. Nobody had told her. Nobody had put up a sign. And the crocodile, of course, had not waited for anyone to do either. October 2023, a beach near Port Lincoln on South Australia's Lower Eyre Peninsula. The coastline out there is long and exposed, the kind of place where the wind comes in off open water and the waves are shaped by nothing but distance. Serious surfers know it for exactly that reason. Good breaks, thin crowds, the feeling of being somewhere that hasn't been smoothed over for visitors. It is also, unmistakably, great white shark territory. A 34-year-old woman, a surfer and a mother of 2, paddled out for a morning session. Her name was kept from wide circulation out of respect for her family, but what happened to her was documented and reported across Australia throughout the weeks that followed. She was surfing when the shark found her, a great white. Fellow surfers and lifeguards who witnessed the attack got to her fast. They did everything they could. She died from her injuries at the scene. Beaches in the area closed immediately, the closures spreading outward from the attack site as authorities moved through the region. Her death was the second fatal shark attack in South Australia that year. A 55-year-old surfer had already been killed near Granite's Beach, south of Streaky Bay, in late October. Then, just before the year ended, a 15-year-old named Kai Cowley was attacked and killed at Ethel Beach on the York Peninsula. 3 people dead from shark attacks in South Australia inside a single calendar year, a toll that shark ecologist Professor Charlie Huveniers of Flinders University described as almost certainly without precedent for the state. Huveniers pointed to a range of contributing factors: human population growth, habitat changes, shifts in the distribution of sharks and their prey, and climate-related changes to ocean conditions. The variables were too tangled to isolate a single cause. What was clear was the pattern. Globally, the number of shark bites has increased over the past 4 decades, he said. South Australia's coastline runs longer than that of New South Wales and Victoria combined, and most of it is remote. The spots where surfers go are often far from hospitals, far from roads, far from anything that could reach them in time if something went wrong. Distance is part of the appeal. It is also the thing that makes a bad outcome worse. South Australia's Environment Minister, Susan Close, acknowledged what the year had taken and ruled out a shark cull. The 3 deaths had happened far apart from each other along a vast stretch of coast, she noted. Most of the sharks in those waters are protected species. No program, she said, could meaningfully cover that much ground. Within the surfing community, the debate over what to do didn't resolve cleanly. Marty Goody, a surfer from Stansbury on the York Peninsula, had lived alongside this coastline for years and had 2 close encounters with great whites on his record. Neither had stopped him going back out, but 2023 had changed something. "I never used to worry about sharks," he said, "but now I don't." The woman who died near Port Lincoln left behind 2 children. She'd gone to the water that morning the way she'd gone countless times before. The beach was familiar. The conditions were ordinary. The shark had been moving through that water long before she paddled out, in the place it had always been, doing what it had always done. she entered its world. Most days, that ends without incident. That morning, it didn't. What runs through every one of these cases is the same gap between expectation and outcome. A beach where the water looked exactly as advertised. A waterfall on a private boat trip with an experienced guide. An island that drew travelers with promises of paradise. The Pacific coast of Mexico, the South Australian shore, the Red Sea, the Andaman Archipelago, the Kimberly. 5 places that had been part of the global tourism economy for decades, absorbing millions of safe visits before the ones recorded here, and going on to absorb millions more afterward. The animals in each of these cases were not anomalies. They were doing what the species they belonged to had always done, in the waters and on the riverbanks where they had always done it. The tourists who entered those spaces had no reliable way to know which of countless ordinary swims, ordinary boat rides, ordinary walks along a shoreline would be the one where the math of presence and timing closed unfavorably around them. The recordings, the reports, the survivor testimony all agree on one thing. There was nothing in the moments leading up to the attack that singled any of these people out for what was coming. Nothing they could have noticed in time. Nothing they could have changed.